You can clearly see the layout of the house, how the different spaces flow together, and all the clever design features they've packed in.
I mean, when you're working with such a limited footprint, every inch counts. You really have to think outside the box to make it functional.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they do that in some really cool ways.
Hmm.
Like, for example, they have this living room area with built-in seating, and the seats actually fold out to become a bed platform.
Oh, that's smart. Multifunctional furniture is key in a tiny house.
Totally. And they've got all sorts of other storage solutions built right into the walls, like pull-out shelves, hidden compartments, you name it.
It's amazing how much they managed to fit into such a small space. It's like a little puzzle box.
It really is. And another thing I love about the design is how much natural light they've managed to bring in.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Lots of big windows, skylights, even a small courtyard area.
Right. It makes the space feel so much bigger and brighter than you'd expect.
Absolutely. Natural light is so important, especially when you're living in a compact space. It can really make a difference in terms of mood and overall well-being.
Definitely. And, this whole video got me thinking about the tiny house movement in general.
Oh yeah, tiny houses are definitely having a moment.
They are. It seems like more and more people are downsizing and embracing a minimalist lifestyle. What do you think is driving this trend?
Well, there are a few factors at play. I think affordability is a big one, especially with housing costs rising in so many places.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Smaller homes mean smaller mortgages, lower
Yeah.
property taxes. It can be a way to achieve financial freedom and get out from under the burden of debt.
I can see that. But what about the environmental aspect? Is that part of the appeal too?
Absolutely. Tiny houses have a much smaller environmental footprint than traditional homes. They use less energy, require fewer resources to build, and generate less waste overall.
So it's like a win-win situation.
In many ways, yes. It's a way to live more sustainably and reduce your impact on the planet.
This video also really emphasizes the use of sustainable materials, right?
Yeah, I noticed they were using a lot of bamboo in the construction, which is a great choice, actually.
How so?
Well, bamboo is a super fast-growing, renewable resource. It's actually a type of grass, believe it or not.
Really, had no idea.
Yeah. And it's incredibly strong and durable, making it a great alternative to traditional hardwood.
That's fascinating. So it's like a sustainable A&D practical option.
Exactly. Plus, it has this really beautiful natural aesthetic that works while in a minimalist design.
I love how this one video has sparked so many different conversations. We've talked about design, sustainability, affordability, the tiny house movement.
It just goes to show how much there is to learn from exploring different ways of living.
For sure. But let's get real for a minute. Would I actually enjoy living in a house this small?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not for everyone.
I imagine it takes a certain personality type.
Definitely. You have to be comfortable with minimalism, with downsizing your possessions, and living in close quarters.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could part with all my stuff.
It can be tough.
Ugh.
But for some people, it's incredibly liberating. It's about prioritizing experiences over material possessions.
I can see the appeal of that. But what about families? Is tiny house living only realistic for individuals? Or can families make it work?
I think it depends on the family. There are definitely families who have made it work, and they seem to thrive in that environment.
Really?
Yeah. It requires a lot of planning and communication, of course. But it can be a really rewarding experience.
Interesting.
For some families, it's a way to simplify their lives, spend more quality time together, and focus on what really matters.
That's a great perspective. So we've covered a lot of ground today, all inspired by this one little YouTube video.
It's amazing how much inspiration you can find in unexpected places.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Yeah.
If you could design your own 30 square meter haven, what would you prioritize?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would be your non-negotiables? What would you absolutely have to include to make it feel like home?
I love that question. It really gets you thinking about what truly matters in a living space.
Exactly. So think about it and maybe even sketch out some ideas. You never know. You might just spark your own tiny or not so tiny design revolution.
I'm inspired already.
Me too. All right. Thanks for joining us on another deep dive.